Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Blessings to you all. In this short Dhamma sermon, I would like to share with you how we can transform our work or our profession or our career into a spiritual practice. Usually we tend to divide our work life and our spiritual life, our religious life. We think that work life is spent to earn money, to provide, to help ourselves with our basic needs, and our religious life or spiritual life is something completely different, and that is the kind of life that we spend in a religious environment like temples. But according to the teachings of the Buddha, we really cannot divide the work life from spiritual life, because the Buddha considered even our work, our profession, or our career as a part of our spiritual practice. That is why we find samma vayama, samma ajiva, the right livelihood, as a part of the Noble Eightfold Path. We know that the Noble Eightfold Path, or the Arya Ashtangika Marga, is the path that leads us to the complete cessation of suffering, to enlightenment, to nirvana. So that is the Noble Eightfold Path is the main practice that help us to attain enlightenment. So even in that Noble Eightfold Path, the one item is the right livelihood. So that means the Buddha wanted us to incorporate our work life into our spiritual practice, into our effort, into our journey towards the enlightenment. So the work life or our career or our job is not very different. It's not different from our journey towards the enlightenment. It is the very much of a part of our journey towards the enlightenment. So in order for us to do a real samma ajiva, to follow the right livelihood, we need to understand how we can actually incorporate our working life into our spiritual development. So even in the Mangala Sutta, the Buddha said that anakulacha kammanta etang mangala muttamam. The having a peaceful occupation, having occupation without conflict is a blessing, is a mangala, is a blessing. So therefore it's very important for us to look into our work life and then try to find a way to do our work, do our job as a part of our spiritual path, spiritual practice. So we may be doing all different kinds of jobs in our life. Some may be in the service sector, some may be in the production sector. Some may be doing a profession of teaching others. Some may be doing a profession of like a banking. Some may be in the profession of media or maybe art. So we can have all different kinds of professions. But doesn't matter what kind of profession that we are doing, we can incorporate any profession to our spiritual path. But of course, Buddha specifically said that there are certain professions that may not fall into right livelihood, which means professions that bring harm to the society, such as selling weapons, selling animals for meat, and all other kinds of trades that will bring harm to the large community. But one important simile given by the Buddha for us to understand how we can do our work in a way that can bring a spiritual development to our life is the simile of a bee. Buddha said that Bhambaraseva iriyate. That means that when we earn our money, earn our living, we should do it just like a bee would extract nectar from a flower. This is a very good example for us to contemplate how a bee would extract nectar from a flower. We know that bee will be very careful to extract the nectar, honey, without harming even a petal of a flower. So he will take the nectar, but he will not harm the flower, not harm the petal. So that's the kind of simile that Buddha gave us. When we do our work or job, we should earn money, but we have to do it in a way that we will not do a harm to a society, to environment, to anyone else. But at the same time, a bee also exhibits another quality, that is being industrious, being like not lazy. So that's also one other quality that we should follow in our work life. But in order for us to become like a bee in our work life, we should really pay attention what kind of job that we are doing, but at the same time how we do our job. So I think we can select what kind of job that we are doing. Some cases we may not have much choices given the economic situations in any country or area, but we can decide how we do our job. So therefore, one way that we can align, maybe we can transform our work to become a part of a spiritual life, is actually think about our job not only as a means to earn money, but actually as a means to do our service to the society. So our job is not only a way to earn money for ourselves. Of course, when we do any kind of job, we will get a salary. But our job is not only to earn a salary. Our job is a way that we contribute back to our society. We know that as citizen of the country, in any country, we have been benefited from the educational system of that country, and we have been benefited from the social system of that country. Therefore, we have a duty to give something back to the country, or back to our community, back to our society. So our job, our work is actually a means to give back. So therefore, if we look at our job as the service that I'm doing to this society, of course we will get a payment, a salary. But when we look at our job mainly as a way that how I can be useful to this society, how I can be a person who is giving back to this society. So my work is mainly a way to do that. When you look at our job in that larger view, and it can help us to understand, maybe appreciate what we do, and develop more enthusiasm, more interest in what we do. So because we are not only doing this to get some money at the end of the month, but we are doing it as a way to do some service, to be helpful, to be of service, to be useful to this society. So when we look at our job in that way, it can help us a lot. So when we look at our job in that way, we will do our job with more interest, with more joy, and even we will do some extra. We will do our job a little bit extra, and we will give our full attention, and we will give full of our skills to do that job. And also we will also get more satisfaction. So that's one important way that we can transform our work or our job to be a spiritual practice. So it doesn't matter what kind of work that we do, whether we are in the services sector, maybe whether we are in any other area. And when we are doing a job, actually what we are really doing is actually we are fulfilling certain needs of the society. We are fulfilling certain necessities of the society. We may be doing one simple job, but that can be a part of a larger project that fulfill a very important need of the society. So we have to ask the question, in my job, in my work, what kind of a small part that I'm playing, or what is the larger project of this job? How it's going to benefit the larger society. So although I'm doing a small part, and that ultimately can help the larger project that can benefit the society. So when we think in that way, it can help you to appreciate your job and appreciate your work more, and then do it with more joy and happiness. And then so that way of thinking is very important, because then otherwise after a while we will get tired of our job, we will get bored of our job, and we will get frustrated with our job. But when we understand the kind of large contribution that we are doing to our society with our little small work that we are doing, it's help you to keep going, keep moving through. Maybe you are doing some kind of business. And even we are doing a business, even a small scale business or a large scale business, maybe definitely when we do business, we focus on profits. But even any business is actually fulfilling a certain needs of a society. You may be having a small shop, maybe you are having a small factory. So even though you are doing it primarily to make profits, but we should also focus on what kind of needs that my business is fulfilling. And so focus on that, and focus more on that. So that way we can have more deeper appreciation, deeper satisfaction of what we do. Because we are doing this business not simply to earn money, but also in that whole process, I'm also serving others. I'm fulfilling certain needs. I'm relieving the certain burdens of other people. So that way we have a deeper satisfaction, because at the end of the day, as human beings, we become satisfied with more. Become satisfied not only not from what we earn, but also we become so satisfied when we learn that we have made a difference in someone's life. I have done some service to others. My life has been useful. And my life has been beneficial to so many others. When you realize that, and that brings more satisfaction. So any job that we are doing, any work that we are doing is somehow benefiting the larger society in whatever small way. So we should focus on that, and we should help ourselves to remind that all the time. That way we can transform our work into a spiritual practice. The important other way we can transform our work into a spiritual practice is to use our work job as an opportunity to learn about other people. Because when you do any job, any profession, you have to work with other people. And there can be people above you, and there can be people who work with you, there can be people who work below you. So we always have to work with people, or maybe you have to deal with customers. So there are always dealings with other people when you do any job or any work. And as you know, that it's not easy to deal with people. There are challenges, and there are some difficult moments to deal with people. Sometimes you have to work with people who are difficult to deal with. Sometimes you have to work with the boss who is very demanding and difficult to engage with. So any job can have its own challenges and difficulties. Particularly when we have to work with other people, it's always challenging. But if we can use that, the dealing with other people as an opportunity to grow our own skills, to grow our own good qualities, and then it becomes a part of our spiritual practice. Particularly, let's say you have a co-worker that is difficult to deal with, or maybe you have to work with a customer that is difficult to deal with. Use it as a challenge. Accept it as a challenge, and then start to work, start to find a way to work with this person, and then try to improve yourself in that whole interaction. Because ultimately what we need is not simply to change others, but actually what we need is our own personal growth. So we can use any difficult person in our work as an opportunity, as a challenge, to learn to improve ourselves. Maybe we can experiment with different techniques to talk to that person. We can experiment with different ways of dealing with that person. So in that whole process, what we are doing is actually we are growing ourselves. And then in that way, we can even use our co-workers or maybe difficult people to work with as a way to test our own goodness. Sometimes we think that we are very patient, we are very calm, but when we meet a really difficult person to deal with, we realize that actually our patience is not that good. Our calmness is not that strong, because we can easily be frustrated, we can easily get angry because of that difficult person. So in that way, that person, although that person is giving you a hard time, that person is kind of helping you to measure yourself, helping you to evaluate yourself, helping you to test yourself. So therefore, sometimes having a difficult person to deal with in our work environment is not a bad thing, and it's an opportunity for us to grow our own goodness, and also opportunity for us to test ourselves. So therefore, so in your workplace there can be two types of people. One group of people maybe is helping you to continue a spiritual practice, and then they will support you, they will guide you, they will support you. But then there can be other type of people who will challenge your spiritual practice, who will help you to understand your own weaknesses. So therefore, even though we have difficult people to deal with, and that's not a very bad thing at the end of the day, because they help us in a different way to change ourselves, to improve ourselves, and also to understand the areas that needs improvement in our life. And then I can also give you some other suggestions how we can actually change our work into a spiritual practice. And one thing will be actually when we start our day, and then take a moment to make a resolution, make a wish, beginning of the day before you start your work. When you reach your workplace, before you start that day, take a moment and make a wish for yourself. And may today be a great day for me, or maybe may today may I be able to overcome challenges of the day, and may I be able to help many people today. So make that kind of wish, or set some kind of goals in the beginning of the day. So that will be a good spiritual practice. And you will take a moment before you start your work. You take a moment, very short moment, and then make a wish, make a resolution. May I be able to help many people. May today I'll be able to overcome challenges. Let's say you have a lot of difficult issues to resolve on that day. Make a wish that may I have strength and courage to resolve all these issues today. May I have blessings from the Buddha. May I have the blessings, may I have guidance from the wisdom of the Buddha, from the teachings of the Buddha to resolve these issues. Do that thing, do that wish at the beginning of the day, and that can help you definitely, to spend a smooth day. But at the same time, it can be more like a meditative practice, a spiritual practice that can help you. And one other important thing you can do is actually you can sometimes display certain statements of the Buddha, the statements that can guide you. So there can be some important guidelines that can help you to move your to do your work. Sometimes we need some reminders from the teachings of the Buddha. So I can recommend you that you can have certain praises from the Buddha. For example, a few days ago I went to an office to meet a person, and then I saw in that office they had a nice display of the Buddha's teachings, and they said that the hatred can only be overcome by love or loving kindness, and then so such statements can help us to guide us. And sometimes we can also have like Buddha's statements on patience, Buddha's statement on compassion. So having such statements displayed around our work place can help us a lot to deal with any difficulties, but at the same time gradually transform our work into a spiritual practice. One other important realization we need to have is actually to understand that everyone is going through some kind of suffering. As ordinary human beings, we have our own issues. Everyone is going through some kind of suffering. Sometimes when we meet with difficulties and challenging people, we should focus on the suffering that is going on in their life, and then have deep compassion for them. And therefore, sometime when we have difficulties and challenges in our life, sometimes we can have, when we have difficult people to deal with, we only focus on the problems that they are making for us, but there can be some issue of pain or suffering inside in that person. So knowing that, maybe reminding ourselves that everyone is suffering, some form of suffering. Everyone is going through some form of suffering. So that realization can help us to develop some kind of empathy, some kind of compassion towards those people, and therefore when we deal with these people, we can have that realization that can help us a lot to deal with those people. So gradually we actually transforming our work into a spiritual practice, and not only something that we use to earn money. So and at the same time we should also can help other people, because whenever we are doing any kind of job, we will use instruments for that. So I would say that at our workplace we can be kind to people, but at the same time we can also be grateful to any instrument that we are using, because sometimes in depending on kind of work that we are doing, we may be using certain instruments, maybe a machine, maybe some kind of utensils. So we can be grateful to those utensils, to those machines, because they are helping us to earn our living. They are helping us to do our job. So therefore, it's really important from time to time. Of course, we need to take care of the instruments that we are using, but at the same time, we can develop deep gratitude. We know that even the Buddha showed his gratitude to the Bodhi tree after he became enlightened. So in the same way, we can express our gratitude to our instruments. We take care of them. We make sure that they are kept securely, but at the same time develop deep gratitude towards them. So in that way, actually, every day, let's say when we finish our work, before we go home, we touch our instrument and we deeply feel grateful in our mind. Even we can say, like thank you, or maybe I'm so grateful, that this machine worked well today. I'm so grateful, and this instrument helped me today. So we can have that kind of attitude, that kind of special grateful attitude towards those instruments. So therefore, every day we will be developing our gratitude. So in that way, we can slowly grow spiritually in our work life. So remember that our work life is not separated from our spiritual life, and is a part of the spiritual life. How we can transform our spiritual life into how we can transform our work life, our job, our profession into a spiritual practice is actually reminding ourselves the service that we are doing to society through our work, and then be satisfied with that and always focus on that, and maybe in that we can do a little bit more than what we usually do in our work when we have that realization, what the largest service that we are doing to our society through our job. And then of course use our co-workers, our maybe our bosses, or maybe people who work under us, and then using them as an opportunity for us to grow our own goodness, to grow our own patience, to grow our own compassion. At the same time, use our instruments, and being grateful to our instruments can help us to grow our gratitude. So in that way, actually, our work can be a very part of our spiritual practice, and then we may not need a separate time for us to grow spiritually. Of course, we need some spiritual time. We need to go to temples. We need to get instruction from our spiritual teachers to grow spiritually. But the real practice comes in every aspect of our life, because work life is a large portion of our waking life. So we should know how we can incorporate our work life into a spiritual life. So I wish that may you have wisdom, and may you have mindfulness to use your work life to treat others well, to treat instruments with gratitude, and use difficult people to grow your own good qualities. In that way, our work life will be part of our spiritual practice. So may you transform your work, your job, your profession into a spiritual practice, and may you continue in your spiritual journey towards the enlightenment. Teruvan Saranai.